and attending our Challa Law weekly webinars. Today is April 13th, 2022. And we are here to talk about some interesting things, the latest and greatest from the Chennai consulate and some insights that he shared. You know, if you didn't get selected for the H-1B registration cap, what are your options? And they say third time's the charm. This is Lakshmi Challa, and welcome to Challa Law's weekly webinar. Today is April 13th, 2022. We're going to be talking about some interesting things, from the consulates in India to didn't get selected for the H-1B cap, so what's next? And some new news from the USCIS on EB5 concurrent filing for adjustment of status. So let's give people a few minutes to join. And this week, I am coming to you live from New Delhi. Just flew into New Delhi from Chennai. And so on the ground, getting some of the immigration news for you. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is going on with the consulates? What the Consul General said is they expect that things will get back to standard processing time by September 2022, which is good news. The problem is we're still having those backlogs that we're going to have to address, and we're going to have to quickly catch up to clearing out those backlogs. So they're still limited appointments, because ensuring the self and safety of the applicants, limited routine American citizenship services. They are doing in-person H-1B, H-4, and student exchange cases by priority. They're accepting interview waivers and Dropbox applications for all visa classifications. So, you know, you may qualify for an interview waiver via Dropbox if you've received the visa within a 2-year, if your visa has expired within a 2-year period. And I think they've expanded that, so it doesn't have to necessarily be in the same country, but I know that we've posted on that, and I suspect our folks will be posting. Otherwise, we'll post it on our social media later today. They're approving limited in-person interviews with folks with emergency travels, whether it's, you know, to attend a funeral or life-saving medical issues or whatnot. So, you know, there are some options. They're still very limited. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about the F1s. There's, as you know, April is the month for H-1B cap cases. There are 85,000 H-1Bs allotted per year. And, you know, every year there have been record numbers of people applying. So it goes into a lottery. Last year, they only selected, and I talked about this, I went through the stats in our webinar a couple of webinars ago, where I talk about how they've been taking limited, number of applicants, but, you know, they do a new selection. They did a new selection. I think it was in June, July, one in November. So don't get disheartened if you haven't been selected. You may be selected nonetheless. But what are some options that you could have? Well, first of all, I always ask people, so I'm going to talk to you as if I would talk to them. Are you on a regular OPT or are you on a STEM OPT? So of course, with the STEM, you've got at least 2 more bites, at least, of the apple. If this is your first year on your OPT and you've got some STEM OPT left. If that is not an option, what are the other things you could look to? Well, this Doesn't apply to a lot of people, especially if you're on an F1. But if you've worked for a company in the past 3 years, 3-year window, so there are some people who happen to work for their family's multinational company overseas. I have seen that in the past. They come over here to do a master's program, which is 2 years. So they're still within the 3-year window in which they could qualify for an L, a new office L, maybe expanding their family business into the United States. That's one option. Another, if you happen to be a person who is in the very top of your niche field, you could qualify for an extraordinary ability O1. Now, the O1, most people think extraordinary ability, they think of Nobel Prize and other things, but you often don't realize that you may have all the qualifications needed in a different way. Like, for example, you may have worked with, before going to school here or while in school, maybe you worked for a startup. And in the startup, what you did was you actually, did some groundbreaking things. Now, you're not the one that's named on it. And maybe, you're not the one that got the recognition. But nonetheless, you are the reason for it. And so therefore, thank you. Therefore, you could be, through vis-a-vis the company's recognition, you could get recognition for the work that you're doing. If there's information that was published about the company that, got the prize, or the individual that you supported that got all the recognition, you could still qualify for an O1, even though you're not named in any of the documentation. So that's something to think about. There is also, if you happen to be from one of the treaty countries, there is also the E1 and E2. E2 is an investor visa. There's no specific amount of investment that you need to make. You just need to make, the test is a substantiality test. And so the substantiality test says your investment must be substantial based on your overall investment. So the greater the investment, if it's a $10 million investment, the smaller the amount you need to invest. The smaller the overall investment, the greater amount you need to invest. So if it is a business for $300,000, you would have to at least invest $200,000, $250,000 to obtain the E. You also have to be from one of the limited treaty visa countries. Not every one qualifies for an E. E visa is a treaty-based. So only the countries that have a treaty with the United States are eligible for the E2. But it doesn't, you can get a franchise. There's a number of things that you could do. You could do that while you're on your OPT. You can't do it while you're on your STEM, but you can do it on an OPT, because STEM, you have to work for an employer, because STEM, it's all about providing that training on a more, structured level. Whereas for OPT, you can work for yourself, and that's fine. So you can start working it on your OPT, and then you can subsequently change status to the E2. Okay, if none of these work, there's always the H-1B cap exempt companies. Well, not companies, but so H-1B cap exempt for 501c3 companies that have a research component. They are exempt from the H-1B. But that definition is much larger than that. If there are companies that have an affiliation agreement, a structured affiliation agreement, to further the academic mission of a not-for-profit academic institution, then that company, although they themselves are a for-profit entity, because they have this affiliation agreement, they may qualify. If they don't have an affiliation agreement, another way they can qualify is if there is a shared board between the company and the academic institution. And there are a few other ways, but these are the ones that are more tried and true. And then lastly, there is enrolling in a new academic program. Now, there are very specific rules when you have already, when you go to another academic program in your same level. So if you go from a master's to a master's, there are very issues relating to day one CPT, or whether you would even be eligible for OPT. And we've got a memo on that, that if we don't publish today, we'd be happy to send it out later. But those are considerations that you need to keep in mind. Now, that issue is not going to come up when you are undergoing your new academic program. It comes up when you apply for an H-1B. That's when USCIS will ask you, hey, we see that you've enrolled in another master's program. You did day one CPT. You know, here is a request for evidence asking for clarification. Now, just for those of you who don't know, day one CPT is not permissible typically for any academic program. You have to have a semester of study before you can take on CPT. The exception is if the curriculum requires it. So, you know, I don't advise it, but if you do it, make sure you get a letter from that foreign student advisor that first semester that you're doing this, because if they change, you may not get a letter from the next student advisor. You can use that letter for your H-1B if they happen to question first day CPT. And so this is the wrap up of the options for those folks. And there's a number of nuanced others, but these are the ones that are probably the most tried and true and the most practical for most people going forward. Now on to EB5. As you know, we talked about how the Reauthorization Act allowed those who have filed for an EB5 petition to file a concurrent adjustment of status. Great news, because before they would have to wait till their I-526 was approved before they could file for adjustment. The USCIS recently put up on their website that we understand this has taken place. We'll be publishing we will be looking through it and publishing guidance soon. So we're not sure whether they want us to wait for guidance before filing. I would imagine that's what they would do. It also may be because they don't want to be flooded with adjustment applications, that they're trying to buy some time to figure out how to handle the volume. And I suspect that's probably more true than the other. Now, today we're going to have an abbreviated session. We'll try to take as many questions as we can. Otherwise, see me next week for our weekly webinar, and we will try to answer them then. But today I'm going to try to cut it off at 12:30 your time so that I can get to dinner before the restaurants close, if you don't mind. But I didn't want to not do this today. I wanted to at least get the news to you and connect with you in any way I can. So I'd like to invite our moderator, Chandrasekhar Challa, if he could join. Shaker, if you heard, I'm doing a hard cutoff at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time.
All right. Good afternoon, folks. We are from the great country of India. So please bear with me. I have no jet lag, but still. So let's look at the first question from the question box. It's from an AA. I have two I-485s, one in each EB2 and EB3 pending. I have EAD AP card from EB3. Is it okay to travel on that EAD AP card without affecting the EB2 pending I-485 case? Thank you for your service.
So he's got
Two 485s, one in each EB2 and EB3 pending. And he has an EAD AP card from EB3. Is it okay to travel on that EAD AP card without affecting the EB2 pending I-485 case?
I wondered, what is your current status?
You post your response in the chat, Mr. AA or Miss AA, so that I can relay to the attorney. Maybe sometime they post it in the AA one. I don't have the response here. I'm going to take the next question.
Oh, H-1B, they just said.
Okay.
Okay, if you're on an H-1B, that's dual intent. So you should be able to travel without any consequence to your adjustment application. And
Right.
the reason why I say that is if it's not dual intent, then if you leave before AP is issued, it could be deemed abandoned. So even though you do have an AP for one, if you leave before the issuance of the AP from the other, you know, an adjudicator, even though you are traveling on AAP, NAP, and AP, you're not traveling on the other adjustment that's pending may be impacted. You're on an H-1B, that's no problem.
The next question from another AA. Derivative H4 spouse used GCEAD receipt from EB3 while principal applicant maintaining H1. Are we eligible to refile in EB2? Derivative H4 spouse used GCEAD receipt from EB3 while principal applicant maintaining H1. Are we eligible to refile in EB2?
Yes.
Okay.
Her working on the EAD does not impact your ability to refile at all.
All right. Next one is another AA. Hi, ma'am. Hope you're having a good day. Quick question. I was told that interfiling is not allowed if downgrade is filed as an amendment, since it is a successor of interest. So does that mean that I got stuck in EB3 line and get GC only when PD becomes current in EB3?
Okay. This is what you need to do. Yes, and I said, I think we were going to look into this, but I'm almost absolutely sure that this is correct. When you file an amended, because it's a successor in interest, they're not sure that you qualify as a successor in interest. So really, you don't have anything to interfile to, if that makes sense, because it's not approved. And you're not sure it's going to be approved because it's an amended petition. But what you can do is you can try, at least, I think, when the ones we filed in October, I think we started trying to upgrade to premium 6 months later. Try to upgrade. Remember, you can't do premium at the beginning because you don't have a perm application filed. But you can always try to upgrade to premium later. Once you upgrade to premium, then you can try to interfile.
All right. That's done. Next one from AA. Please let me know if your law firm will help in applying RFEs related to OPT EAD extensions, especially from a university that offers MS over online and in-person classes only once in a semester. Pretty detailed question. I appreciate that.
So here is the problem with that. F1s typically are only permitted to take one online class. Everything has to be in person. Now, during COVID, they did allow for a hybrid, some in class, some in person. So let me send us your RFE at info@challalaw.com, and we'll see how we can assist.
All right. Next one from another AA. If you are on an H-1B visa and working as an employee for company A, and company A holds your H-1B, company A has a contract with company B. So you're providing your service as a consultant to company B. But company B has a partnership with company C, and H-1B holder is a equity holder in company C. Is it possible for H-1B holder to have an equity in a company? Also, how would that impact the H-1B and the GC with company A?
Okay. If you want company C, in which you have an equity stake, to transfer your H-1B, I don't know if that's what you're asking, but I'm going to answer this anyway, just for the other people who may want to know if you have a stake in a company, if that company can file an H-1B. The rule is the company can file an H-1B as long as they have convened a board, because you have to have an employee control. Now, if you're an equity holder, you may not have control. So, I mean, the company may not have control over you, but if you have a board, the board would have control over you, and that is permissible for an H-1B. Now, it's not the same for a GC. If you've got equity control, your company will have a lot of challenges in filing a green card for you. Now, as far as company A is concerned, if you don't transfer, there's no issue with company A. They can continue even though you've got an equity stake in company C. They don't ask. It's not an issue. The perm process will not be impacted because there's enough layers between you and company C. It's the employer's relationship and your relationship in any equity, in the company that's petitioning you. So if that's not there, then there's no problem.
All right, next one is from Daryl Mulder. I've been asked for more evidence about my B1. I'm currently on an E3, but the assumption is that I have been on a B1 in this time. How do I explain that I have been working on an E3 since March of last year, and that I have a return ticket to Australia, also requested for May 4th, 2022?
So say that again at the beginning.
I have
filed
been
for an
asked
extension?
for more evidence about my B1. I am currently on an E3, but their assumption is that I have been on a B1 in this time. How do I explain that I've been working on an E3 since March of last year?
So I'm going to assume that you filed for a change of status from E3 to B1. So if you're filing from, so if you're filing from an E3 to a B1.
He says this is a B1 is a bridging visa. Yes, correct.
Yeah. So it depends on what you submitted. I'm assuming that you probably did this on your own or maybe with another attorney. Usually that's explained in the filing. And so the way I would respond, and I haven't looked at your RFE, so we've got to make sure that I have this disclaimer. I haven't looked at your RFE. This is not legal advice, but notwithstanding any other issue, on the issue of how to explain to the USCIS that you have not been here on a B1, but you've been here on an E3, is to, if you can get a letter from your employer, that's great. In addition, your W-2s, your pay stubs, a copy of your visa, stating that that is the status that you have been holding and that you've been maintaining that status up till the time you filed for the change of status.
All right. Take this one question from the chat. Mahi M. By the way, Sagar, thank you for your comment. I appreciate it. People at the
Oh, I didn't see
Challa
Sagar's.
offices are very passionate and they're very committed to what they do. Doesn't matter which country, what time. Just let you know.
No,
that.
and I have to tell you, we got here just in the nick of time. Our driver was taking us to the wrong hotel with a similar name. And Shaker had a web-based presentation an hour before. So he had much less time than I did. And which you can see that he went somewhere immediately just to kind of get plugged in. And so we just ran in trying to get this up and going. And so I appreciate the fact that you understand that it was not easy, but we wanted to make sure that we were here just talking to you in whatever time we could.
Tell you what, I left the country and Sunrisers Hyderabad won 2 games. So I wish I would have left the country if the IPL became the one more game. But anyway, this next question from Mahi M. At the time of filing, if my dependent is not present in USA, unable to travel immediately, can I file for him next month? Please let me know what options I have in a situation like this.
So if you're filing for, I would imagine, an extension, if you're filing for an extension of status and your dependent is not there with you, you can do one of 2 things. Number one, when they arrive, you can kind of connect them to your existing extension filing. So you can file for it then, and you can say that this should be connected to whatever the filing is. And I would use the receipt number of the primary applicant to make sure that it's connected to the filing. And oh, it's not an extension. So what is it? A change of status? I'm going to wait for him to respond to that before I say anything. Oh, you're talking about an adjustment. There's no problem. But remember, if it happens to retrogress by the time he comes in, he or she, then they cannot, they won't be able to file.
All right. This is the last question from the Q&A box from an AA. It's not a question, it's a comment and a appreciation. You look fabulous, ma'am, just like a typical Bengali. Not sure if you are from Kolkata. Thanks for helping the community.
No, I appreciate that. And I'm sure my husband, who most Bengalis would cringe at his Bengali, but he will talk in Bengali anyway because he loves the language. And so, no, I tell you, when I come here, I love dressing like this. It's a loose kurta. I think I'm going to start wearing this to the office because it's comfortable. It's, and the idea is the whole world will tell you what a lawyer should look like, right? And when I first started practicing, I did that. I cut my hair short. I wore these boxy men-like suits because the whole world told you that you had to look like a man. And then as I started practicing, and I'm going to say this I'm not good at everything. I tell everyone I'm good at 2 things. I think. Number one, I think I'm really good at practicing immigration law. It's a passion I have, and I think that comes out in the passion. The second thing, Chandrasekhar, do you know what the second thing is?
She's very good at cooking.
I love to cook.
She cooks. She loves to cook. She'll cook everything from dosa to pesarattu to samosa to pani puri, bel puri, lal chaat, and whatever you want,
fish.
including babu machai, dada, roshagulla. Ami Bangla babu nai, but I had a lot of in my high school in Bilaspur, Madhya Pradesh. I didn't go to high school there, the middle school. A lot of Bengali classmates. and we love Bengali. My father was in the railway, so he was in Calcutta for 2 years. I love Calcutta, Esplanade, Birla Planetarium, all those places. And I'm waiting to see a game in Eden Gardens. It's on my bucket list.
Well, we've got to make that happen. So thank you. Thank you so much. And so I decided, instead of trying to make yourself look like what the world thinks that a lawyer should look like, maybe you should start making the world kind of look at you as what a lawyer should look like. They need to question their perception. You don't need to change yourself to adjust to that.
He or she has a follow-up comment. I wish every woman's mindset be like this, open-minded and courageous.
No, we can be. You just have to do it. We've got, just think, they named the earth what every human being steps on, what every truck plows on, Mother Earth. Why? Because only a woman can sustain that kind of chaos and pressure and everything else. They, have gifted us with the ability to give life, they've gifted us with the ability, and it's true, if you look into it, and this is based on genetics, to empathize, to, understand what somebody else is feeling. And we also have the ability to totally annihilate anyone who's going to hurt our family members. I'm giving you the description of Mata, right? Because you're Bengali. So Durga, Parvati, Saraswati, these are Mahalakshmi. These are all the facets of how a woman is. So each and every woman is that way. It's not just me. It's in you. So just imbibe it. Imbibe that strength within you. Sorry, Shaker.
That's about all. Yeah, you are the attorney. It's your forum. You are welcome to, put your own words and thoughts. It's a free country, right?
No, I think it's really important that
I agree. I agree with all you say and what you.
I think it's really important that women understand that they can be. If you're good at what you do, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter that you don't fit the norm of what other people think you need to look like. If you're committed, if your heart is in the right place, you do good work, that's all that matters. All that other stuff, you shouldn't pay attention to. So, as usual, I want to thank my team overseas that have been working really hard, have been supporting me, even though I know that they are going crazy over the fact that I'm having computer issues, and still they talk to me with a smile. Thank you, folks. I really appreciate the fact that they're so supportive of understanding Lakshmi's technology challenges right now.
Yeah, before closing, I want to request all of you out there two things. One is next Wednesday, the webinar will still be here from the great city of Chennai. So folks out there who are have been listening to us for all those years, if you have folks here, have them join the webinar on that day. You can forward the webinar link to them. That's one. Second thing, I'll be in Hyderabad the week after, April 25th to April 30th, in person. My office will have the information as to where I will park myself in Hyderabad. So people can send me an email. I will love to talk to them. Half an hour slots. My office will have all the information. So those are the two things I just want to let you know. So if any of your friends and colleagues are interested in talking to us in person, I just want to pass that information. I'll share more information, but that's about all. Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to, here are our QR codes, right? So, hey guys, if you have not joined our Telegram group, some of the information that I had talked about today, we're going to post it on the Telegram group. Take your phone up, put it to the QR code, and you can get a link to join our community. I hope you do. It only makes us stronger when we have more people that we hear their voice, we hear their stories, which are really important to kind of effectuate change. So join, have your friends join. I would really appreciate it. And then next, Facebook, of course. We use different platforms to publish different things. So this is our Facebook QR code. So if you are more into Facebook, this is a great place that you can, it would be great if you were able to, when you see our webinar posted on Facebook, to share it on your Facebook page. I would personally really appreciate that. I mean, you all tell me how much you find this helpful. That's the one thing. I don't need you. Thank you. If you could do this, that would be thanks enough. YouTube, we have a lot of great information on YouTube that you could listen to, share with your friends. You can actually rewind it, and get those key information pieces that you need to achieve your immigration journey. That's what our objective is. The vast majority of people that listen to our webinars that have appreciated our YouTube are not my clients. So this is not for me about the bottom line. This is about getting out information. And so the only way you'll know when we've posted, is when you subscribe. So please subscribe, take the link, share it with your friends, and let's make sure that the information gets out. Now, if you've joined this on YouTube Live and you have not signed up for our webinars, you won't know when we have special webinars unless you sign up. So use a QR code to sign up for that, share it with your friends. I would appreciate that. And then lastly, here is a save all. If you're sick of using all our QR codes, Carol Wood, if you remember, who's no longer physically with the Challa law firm, but we're always collaborating together, created this. So you can put up your phone to this QR code and connect to everything. That should make it really simple. So I want to thank you all for joining. I want to thank my team, give a special shout out to Lainey, who works on all the client engagement and marketing and make sure you get all the information you need. And I want to thank Mr. Challa, who's a great moderator. So I appreciate the fact that after your 1 hour session, I don't know how you did it, just,
There is a tagline that I always tell everybody, the Nike tagline. You don't have to think twice. You want to do something, just do it.
It's so funny you were saying that. And in the background, your daughter, our daughter, I can't say your daughter, it's our daughter. She was saying, Dad's going to say, just do it, which is what she's been hearing all her life. So that's true. Thank you, Chandrasekhar.